Questions. Good morning, everyone. Let me start with a small question. Questions. How many of you here have ever typed a long message, then deleted it, then typed again, then sent it, and 5 minutes later thought, why did I tell them that? Don't worry. Questions. You're in a safe place. This is a confession-free zone. Today, I want to talk about something we rarely learn in school, rarely hear in motivational talks, but desperately need in life. Questions. The art of not telling everything. Because in today's world, we don't just live our lives, we broadcast them. We don't just eat food, we take pictures of it. We don't just feel sad. Questions. We post a story about it. We don't just succeed, we make sure everyone knows. And somewhere between sharing and oversharing, we forgot something very powerful. Silence is not weakness. Questions. Silence is wisdom. Let me tell you a short story. There was once a man who bought a brand new phone. He was so excited, he showed it to everyone. He took selfies, posted pictures, made videos. One day, questions. He put it on the table in a cafe and went to wash his hands. When he came back, the phone was gone. He went to the manager and said, "Someone stole my phone." The manager smiled and said, "Questions. No one steals what they don't see." And that hit me. In life, sometimes the more we show, the more we expose. The more we expose, the more we become vulnerable. Questions. Not everyone who listens to your story is rooting for your success. Some are just collecting information. We live in a world where people say, be open, be expressive. Questions. Share your feelings. And yes, that is important. But wisdom is knowing who deserves to hear which part of your story. Because not everyone needs a front row seat to your life. Questions. Let me ask you something personal. When you're hurting, do you need an audience or do you need a healer? When you're confused, do you need likes or do you need guidance? Questions. Sometimes we talk not because we need help, but because we need attention. And attention is a hungry guest. The more you feed it, the more it grows. I once met a very successful businessman. Questions. I asked him, what is the secret of your success? Smiled and said, three things. Work hard, stay humble, and don't announce your next move. Powerful, isn't it? Questions. Because when you tell everyone your plans, two things happen. Some people will doubt you. Some people will try to stop you. And both will drain your energy. Your dreams need privacy to grow. Questions. Just like a seed needs darkness before it becomes a tree. Let me share another story. There was a student who went to his teacher and said, "Sir, I am going to top this year." Questions. I will show everyone. The teacher smiled and said, "Wonderful. But remember, thunder makes a lot of noise. Rain makes things grow." Years later, questions. The quiet student who never announced his goals was the one who succeeded the most. Because he wasn't busy talking, he was busy becoming. We often think, if I don't tell my story, questions, who will understand me? But the deeper truth is this: not everyone is meant to understand you. Some are only meant to observe you. Your life is not a public documentary. It's a personal journey. Questions. Let's talk about relationships. Every time you have a problem, you tell 10 people. By the time you fix it, 10 people still remember the broken version. And then you wonder why people judge. Questions. You don't need a committee to solve a personal problem. You need one wise person who can listen without gossiping. Because advice is powerful, but opinions are dangerous. Let me say something strong. Questions. But true, not everyone who asks what happened actually cares about what happened. Some people ask just to have something to talk about later. So be kind, be polite, but be selective. Questions. We think confidence comes from speaking, but real confidence comes from not needing to explain yourself. You don't have to justify your growth. You don't have to defend your silence. Questions. You don't have to explain your boundaries. Your life does not need a press release. Here's a beautiful thought I love. The ocean is deep, not loud. The river is loud, not deep. Ask yourself questions. Are you trying to be impressive or impactful? Let me end with this. Imagine your life is a book. Not every chapter is for public reading. Some chapters are private. Some chapters are sacred. Questions. Some chapters are only between you and your creator, your conscience, and your closest circle. And that's okay. Because when you stop telling everything, you start living more. Questions. You start growing more. You start feeling more peaceful. So the next time you feel like sharing every detail of your life, pause and ask questions. Is this helping my future or just feeding my present emotion? Choose wisely. Because mystery creates respect, silence creates strength, and privacy creates power. Questions. Let me begin with a simple truth from everyday life. When a plant starts growing in your home, you don't place it in the middle of the street. You keep it in a safe corner. You water it quietly. Questions. You protect it from strong winds and harsh sunlight until it becomes strong enough to stand on its own. Your dreams, your plans, your struggles, and even your happiness are very similar. Questions. They are living things, and not every environment is safe for them to grow. We often assume that if someone is listening to us, they must be supporting us. Questions. But listening and wishing well are not always the same. In daily life, you will meet many people who lean forward when you talk, nod their heads, ask questions, and smile. On the surface, questions. It feels warm and encouraging, but deep inside, their intentions can be very different. Some listen to compare. Some listen to compete. Some listen to criticize. Questions. And some listen just to carry your story forward to another room, another group, another conversation. Think about a time when you shared a personal goal. Maybe you said questions. I'm going to start my own business, or I'm planning to change my career, or I'm working on improving myself. The moment you say it out loud, reactions come in. One person says questions. That's amazing. Another says, are you sure? That's very risky. Another quietly smiles and later tells someone else, I don't think they can do it, Bar. You didn't ask for a debate. Questions. You didn't ask for a verdict. You simply shared a dream. But the world turned it into a discussion. Here's a small, relatable example. Questions. Imagine you tell a colleague at work that you're preparing for a promotion or an interview. At first, they encourage you. But suddenly, you notice something changes. Questions. They start watching you more closely. They compare their performance with yours. Maybe they start highlighting your mistakes in front of others. Not because they hate you, questions, but because now they see you as competition. You didn't lose a supporter. You discovered a silent rival. This is why wisdom teaches us to be selective, not secretive, but selective. Questions. There is a difference. Being selective means you choose carefully who gets access to your inner world. Just like you don't give your house keys to everyone who smiles at you. Questions. You don't give your thoughts, fears, and plans to everyone who listens. In families, this happens too. You share a personal problem with one relative. They listen kindly. But soon, questions. Another relative calls you and says, I heard you're going through something. That's when you realize your private moment became a public topic. It wasn't done with bad intention. Questions, but the impact is still the same. Your story is no longer yours, it belongs to the room. Social media is another powerful example. You post a happy picture and people like it. You post a sad quote, questions, and people ask what's wrong. But behind the screen, not everyone is feeling happy for you or concerned about you. Some are comparing their lives with yours. Some are judging. Questions. Some are waiting for a moment when your shine becomes a shadow. The platform looks friendly, but the audience is mixed. The truth is, every listener comes with their own emotions, experiences, questions, and insecurities. When you speak, your words pass through their filter. And sometimes that filter changes the meaning of what you said. What you share as hope, someone else hears as pride. Questions. What you share as struggle, someone else hears as weakness. And what you share as a plan, someone else hears as an opportunity to interfere. This doesn't mean we should become cold or silent forever. Questions. It simply means we should become wise. Find the people who listen with their hearts, not just their ears. These are the ones who don't rush to respond. Questions. They don't turn your story into entertainment. They don't make your life a topic of discussion. They hold your words gently, like something valuable. A good test is simple. Questions. Watch what happens after you share. Do you feel lighter or do you feel exposed? Do you feel supported or do you feel uneasy? The body often knows before the mind does. Questions. There is a beautiful kind of strength in quiet progress. When you work on yourself without announcing it, when you grow without broadcasting it, when you heal without explaining it. Questions. Something powerful happens. You move without resistance, you walk without noise. And when results finally show, they speak louder than any words you could have shared. So remember. Questions. Not everyone who listens to you is rooting for you. Some are just passing time. Some are collecting stories. Some are measuring themselves against you. And a rare few are truly standing with you. Questions. Give your words to those rare few. Because the right listener doesn't just hear your voice. They protect your vision. Questions. In a world that never stops talking, silence often feels uncomfortable. We sit in a room and if no one speaks for a few seconds, someone quickly pulls out their phone, clears their throat. Questions. Or says anything just to fill the gap. We have been taught, without realizing it, that being loud means being confident, that speaking means being strong. Questions. And that staying quiet means we have nothing to say. But life slowly teaches us a deeper truth. Silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom in its most peaceful form. Think about a daily moment. Questions. Something simple. You're in an argument with someone you care about. Words are flying back and forth. Voices are getting louder. Emotions are rising like a storm. At that moment, questions. You feel an urge to win, to prove your point, to say the perfect sentence that will make the other person feel small. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop talking. Questions. You take a breath, you stay quiet, and in that quiet the fire begins to calm. The room feels different. The energy changes. You didn't lose. You chose peace over pride. Questions. Silence is not about having nothing to say. It's about knowing when saying something will only make things worse. In everyday life, we face small moments that test this wisdom. Questions. A colleague makes a sarcastic comment about your work. A friend makes a joke that stings. A stranger criticizes you for no reason. Your mind immediately starts forming a reply, a sharp one. Questions. A clever one, a strong one. But when you pause and stay silent, something interesting happens. You protect your energy. You refuse to let someone else control your emotions. Questions. That quiet moment becomes a shield, not a surrender. There's a beautiful example we all recognize. Think about the person in your family who speaks the least, but is respected the most. Questions. When they finally say something, everyone listens. Their words carry weight because they are rare. They don't speak just to be heard. They speak when it matters. That's the power of silence. Questions. It turns words into something valuable, not something ordinary. Even in success, silence plays a role. Imagine two people who achieve something big. One announces it everywhere. Questions. Tells everyone how hard they worked, how they proved others wrong. The other simply continues with their life, letting their work speak for them. Over time, questions. The second person often earns deeper respect. Not because they hid their success, but because they didn't need applause to feel complete. Silence also teaches us about listening. Questions. When you stop talking, you start noticing things you missed before. You hear the tone behind someone's words. You feel the emotion behind their smile. Questions. You understand what is being said without being spoken. In daily conversations, this can change everything. A friend may say, I'm fine, but the eyes say something else. Questions. If you're too busy preparing your next sentence, you miss that silent message. There is also wisdom in being silent with yourself. We live surrounded by noise and music, notifications, videos, questions, conversations, traffic, news. Rarely do we sit quietly and just be. But in those quiet moments, you begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You understand what you truly want, what truly hurts, questions, what truly matters. Silence becomes a mirror. It shows you who you are without the influence of the world. Think about nature. The sun doesn't make noise when it rises, yet it changes the entire sky. Questions. The moon doesn't announce itself, yet it controls the tides. The tallest mountains stand in silence, yet they command awe. Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply exists. Questions. In daily challenges, silence can save you from regret. How many times have we said something in anger that we later wished we could take back? Words once spoken cannot be collected. Silence, questions, once kept never needs an apology. Choosing not to speak in the heat of the moment is like putting your emotions on pause. It gives your heart time to catch up with your mind. Questions. This doesn't mean you should never express yourself. It means you should express yourself with awareness. Speak when your words can heal, not when they can harm. Speak when your voice can guide. Questions, not when it only wants to win. There is also strength in silent progress. When you work on yourself quietly, people don't see the late nights, the effort, the discipline. They only see the result. Questions. And that result becomes even more powerful because it arrived without announcement. Like a sunrise, it simply appears and everyone feels its presence. Silence teaches patience. It teaches humility. Questions. It teaches control. In a world that pushes you to react instantly, silence allows you to respond thoughtfully. And there is a big difference between reacting and responding. One comes from emotion, questions. The other comes from wisdom. So the next time you feel the urge to fill every space with words, remember this: you don't need to prove your strength by being loud. Questions. You don't need to show your intelligence by always speaking. Sometimes the most inspiring thing you can do is stay quiet, observe, understand, and then, when the moment is right, questions. Let your words fall like gentle rain, not like a storm. Because silence is not the absence of power. It is the presence of peace. Questions. There is something magical about beginnings. They are soft, fragile, and full of possibility. Just like a newborn child, just like a small flame, just like a tiny seed planted in the soil. Questions. In daily life, we understand this without even thinking about it. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. Questions. You don't announce to the whole neighborhood that a seed is under the ground. You quietly water it. You protect it. You wait. Your dreams work in the same way. They need time, care, questions, and most importantly, privacy. Many of us feel an excitement when a new idea is born in our mind. Maybe it's a business plan, a career change, a fitness goal, a creative project, questions, or a personal transformation. The first thing we want to do is tell someone. We want to hear, "Whoa, that's amazing." We want to feel encouraged. But sometimes, in that process, questions, we forget that our dream is still weak. It hasn't grown roots yet. And when you expose something fragile to too much wind, it can break. Think about a simple daily example. Questions. Imagine you decide to start waking up early to improve your life. The night before, you tell everyone, "From tomorrow, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every day." People react. Some cheer. Some joke. Questions. Some doubt you. The next morning, when your alarm rings, all those voices are now inside your head. The pressure is heavy. If you fail, you don't just disappoint yourself. Questions. You feel like you disappoint everyone. A small personal goal suddenly becomes a public performance. But imagine another version. You decide quietly. You set your alarm. You wake up, questions, you do it again the next day. And again, weeks pass. One day, someone notices and says, "You're waking up early these days." You smile. Now your habit has roots. Now it can handle attention. Questions. This is the power of private growth. When dreams are shared too early, they often receive opinions instead of support. Someone says, "That's too hard." Someone else says, "Questions. That's risky." Another says, "People like us don't do things like that." These words may not come from a bad place, but they still plant doubt. And doubt is like a weed. Questions. It grows fast and quietly, and if you don't remove it, it slowly steals the strength of your dream. In daily life, we see this in relationships too. Questions. A couple who keeps every small problem private often grows stronger. They talk to each other, they solve things together. But when every issue becomes a topic for friends, family, and social media, questions. Suddenly there are many voices in the relationship. Everyone has advice, everyone has opinions, and slowly the bond becomes weaker, not because of the problem, but because of the noise around it. Questions. Privacy gives your dream a safe space to make mistakes. And mistakes are an important part of growth. When no one is watching, you can fail, learn, adjust, and try again without feeling judged. Questions. You can experiment, you can change direction, you can be honest with yourself. But when everyone is watching, you often become afraid to look weak. Questions. So you stick to a path that may not even be right for you, just to protect your image. Think about learning something new. When you first try to ride a bicycle, you fall, you wobble, you struggle. Questions. Now imagine if a crowd is standing around, recording you, commenting, laughing, or giving instructions all at once. It becomes harder, not easier. But when it's just you and the bicycle, questions, you can focus, you can feel the balance, you can improve. Your dreams deserve that same quiet space to find their balance. There is also a beautiful sense of freedom in working quietly. Questions. You are not chasing approval. You are not waiting for validation. You are not measuring your progress by other people's reactions. You are connected only to your purpose. That connection is pure. Questions. It is strong. It doesn't depend on claps or comments. In daily work life, this is powerful. Questions. The person who talks the most about what they will do often does less than the person who talks the least and works the most. Silent effort builds visible results. And when results appear, questions. They don't need an introduction. They speak for themselves. Privacy also protects your joy. When you keep something special to yourself, it feels deeper, more personal. It becomes yours. Questions. Not something that belongs to everyone's opinion. There is a quiet happiness in knowing you are building something meaningful, even if no one else sees it yet. Questions. This doesn't mean you should walk alone. It means you should walk wisely. Share your dreams with those who water them, not with those who question the soil. Questions. Find one or two people who truly believe in you, who listen without discouraging, who guide without controlling. That small circle is enough. The world often celebrates the final moment, the success, questions, the achievement, the victory. But the real magic happens in the invisible phase, when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when it's just you and your commitment. Questions. That is where character is built. That is where strength is formed. So treat your dreams like something sacred. Hold them gently. Protect them from unnecessary noise. Questions. Let them grow roots before you let them face the wind. Because when a dream grows in privacy, it doesn't just stand tall, it stands strong. Questions. There is a quiet truth in daily life that many of us only realize after we feel tired for no clear reason. Sometimes it's not the work that exhausts us. It's not the responsibilities. Questions. It's not even the problems. It's the constant need to be seen, heard, noticed, and acknowledged. Attention, when it becomes a hunger, starts consuming more energy than it gives. Questions. Think about a simple moment. You dress up nicely for an event, you walk into the room, A few people notice and compliment you. It feels good. You smile. Your confidence rises. But then questions. You start looking for more. You scan the room. Did they see me? Did they say anything? Why hasn't that person reacted yet? Suddenly, what began as a moment of joy becomes a silent demand. Questions. Your mind is no longer enjoying the event. It's working overtime, searching for approval. This happens every day on our phones. You post a picture, a thought, a video. At first, it's just sharing questions. But then the waiting begins. Who liked? Who didn't? Why is the number lower than last time? You refresh the screen, you check again and again. Without realizing it, questions. Your emotional state starts depending on tiny digital signals. A small red heart becomes a measure of your happiness. Questions. That is when attention stops being something you enjoy and starts becoming something you chase. Chasing attention is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much you pour in questions, it never feels enough. There is always someone getting more, doing better, being noticed more. So the comparison begins. And comparison is heavy. It sits on your mind like a weight. Questions, making every achievement feel smaller, every effort feel invisible. Look at daily conversations. Sometimes when we talk, we are not really sharing. We are performing. We are waiting for a reaction. Questions, a laugh, a nod, a compliment. If it doesn't come, we feel disappointed. We repeat the story. We make it louder. We add drama. And slowly, we forget why we started talking in the first place. Questions. The conversation becomes less about connection and more about validation. There is also a subtle way attention drains us in relationships. You do something kind for someone. Deep inside, questions. You hope they notice. You hope they mention it. You hope they appreciate it publicly. When they don't, you feel hurt. Not because the kindness wasn't real, questions, but because the reward you expected didn't arrive. Now imagine doing the same thing quietly without expecting anything in return. The action feels lighter. The heart feels calmer. Questions. The energy stays with you instead of waiting to be returned by someone else. In work life, this shows up too. You put in extra effort on a project. You stay late. You go beyond what's required. Questions. And then you keep looking to see who noticed. Did the boss mention it? Did colleagues see it? When the appreciation doesn't come, frustration builds. But the truth is, questions. When your main fuel is attention, your motivation becomes fragile. It rises and falls based on external reactions, not internal purpose. Questions. There is a powerful difference between doing something because you love it and doing something because you want to be seen doing it. The first gives you energy. The second takes it away. Questions. Think about a child drawing a picture alone in their room. They are fully absorbed. They don't care if anyone is watching. They don't care if it's perfect. Questions. They are just enjoying the act of creating. Their energy is high. Their face is calm. Now imagine the same child drawing in front of a crowd, with people judging, commenting, and comparing. Questions. The joy slowly disappears. The pressure enters. The energy drops. We often carry that same pressure into adulthood. Attention can also pull you away from the present moment. Questions. Instead of living your life, you start documenting it. Instead of enjoying a meal, you take pictures of it. Instead of feeling a moment, you think about how it will look to others. Questions. The experience becomes less real because your mind is already outside, watching yourself from someone else's perspective. There is a quiet freedom in not needing to be noticed. Questions. When you walk into a room and don't care who looks at you. When you do good work and don't wait for applause. When you help someone and don't tell anyone about it. That freedom is life. Questions. It gives you back the energy that attention takes away. This doesn't mean appreciation is bad. Appreciation is beautiful. It can lift spirits and encourage growth. Questions. But when appreciation becomes a need instead of a bonus, it starts controlling you. You begin to shape your actions around reactions instead of values. Daily life offers small chances to practice this. Questions. Do something kind and don't mention it. Achieve something and don't announce it immediately. Share a moment and don't post it. Sit with your own satisfaction for a while. Questions. Feel the quiet happiness of knowing you did something meaningful, even if no one else knows. Over time, you'll notice a change. Your mind becomes calmer. Your heart becomes steadier. Questions. You are less affected by praise and less shaken by silence. Your energy stays within you instead of constantly reaching outward. Questions. There is a beautiful kind of strength in being unseen and still being at peace. Because when you stop chasing attention, you start reclaiming your energy. Questions. And that energy can finally be used to build the life you truly want. Questions. There is a deep difference between being heard and being healed. In daily life, we often confuse the two. We think that if many people know our pain, it will somehow become lighter. So we talk. Questions. We explain, we repeat our story again and again in different rooms to different faces on different platforms. For a moment, it feels good. People listen. They react. They say, oh no. Questions. That's so sad. Or, you're so strong. But when the conversation ends and the room becomes quiet, the pain is still there, sitting exactly where it was before. The audience clap. Questions. But the wound did not close. Think about a simple everyday situation. Imagine you fall and hurt your knee. You don't go to the middle of the street and show it to everyone passing by. Questions. You don't explain the story of how you felt to every stranger. You look for someone who can clean the wound, apply medicine, and help you heal. Emotional pain works the same way. Questions. Not every listener knows how to care for it. Some only know how to look at it. In daily life, when something goes wrong, our phone often becomes the first place we run to. We type long messages. Questions. We post emotional quotes. We change our status. And suddenly people start responding. Some give sympathy. Some give advice. Some ask questions. Some just watch. But in all of that noise, questions, real healing rarely happens. Healing usually happens in quiet spaces, in honest conversations, with someone who doesn't just react, but truly understands. Questions. There is a kind of person who listens without rushing to fix you. They don't interrupt with their own stories. They don't turn your pain into a topic of discussion. Questions. They sit with you in your emotion. They ask gentle questions. They help you see things more clearly, not more dramatically. That person is a healer. They may be a friend, a parent, a mentor. Questions. Or even a professional. They don't need a crowd to validate your feelings. They only need a heart that is open. Now think about the opposite. You share a personal struggle in a group. Questions. One person gives advice. Another disagrees. Another tells a similar story but makes it about themselves. Someone else silently judges. By the end, your problem hasn't become smaller. Questions. It has become heavier. It now carries everyone else's opinions, assumptions, and reactions. What was once a personal moment has turned into a public case. This happens often in relationships. Questions. You have a misunderstanding with someone close to you. Instead of talking to them or to one wise person, you talk to 5 friends. Each friend adds their own interpretation. Questions. That's disrespectful, doll. You deserve better. I would never tolerate that. Slowly your feelings start changing, not because of what actually happened, questions, but because of how it was described and discussed. The original issue might have been small, but now it feels big, complicated, and emotional. The audience didn't heal the situation. Questions. They amplified it. A healer helps you calm down before you decide what to do next. An audience often pushes you to react before you truly understand what you feel. In daily work life, questions, this shows up too. You have a bad day at the office. Your boss says something that hurts. You feel unappreciated. You go and tell everyone around you. Some agree. Some criticize the boss. Questions. Some share their own complaints. For a moment, you feel supported. But the next day, you walk into the same office carrying not just your own frustration, questions, but the collective frustration of everyone you spoke to. The weight becomes heavier. A healer, on the other hand, might help you see a different perspective or help you plan a calm, questions, respectful conversation that actually improves the situation. There is also something very sacred about choosing who gets to see your vulnerable side. Vulnerability is a gift, not a display. Questions. When you share your struggles with someone who treats them gently, you feel safe. You feel understood. You feel lighter, even if the problem isn't fully solved yet. Questions. That safety is a big part of healing. Not everyone knows how to hold someone else's pain. Some people, without meaning to, can make it worse. They may give harsh advice. Questions. They may minimize what you feel. They may turn it into gossip. They may bring it up later in a casual way, not realizing how deeply it affected you. Questions. This is why choosing a healer is an act of self-respect. There is a beautiful strength in saying, I don't need everyone to know this. Questions. I only need the right person to understand it. In daily life, you can practice this in small ways. The next time you feel upset, pause before you speak. Ask yourself questions. Am I sharing this to feel better, or am I sharing this to be seen? If the answer is to be seen, you may be looking for an audience. If the answer is to feel better, look for a healer. Sometimes, questions. The healer is also silence, sitting with your own thoughts, writing them down, letting the emotion pass before you decide who to talk to. Questions. That space can protect you from saying things you don't truly mean, or from opening your heart in a place that isn't safe. Questions. Life becomes gentler when you stop turning your pain into a performance and start treating it like something precious. You don't need many people to know your story. Questions. You only need the right ones to help you rewrite it, because an audience may listen, but a healer helps you rise.